Oh my God, I wish somebody told me this. Nobody told me about this before moving to South Florida. Now that could have been you, but luckily for you, I'm gonna tell you the 10 things that you need to know about living here in South Florida before you move here to South Florida. And if you stick around to the end, I'm gonna tell you 3 things that really fly under the radar about living here in South Florida. But before we do that, all I ask is that you hit the like and subscribe button, especially if you want to be the first to know about everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, living, and even playing, not only here in South Florida, but Florida in general. And if you're new here, my name is Joe, and me and my team help people move not only to South Florida, but Florida in general. So whether you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can call, email, text us, or DM us, whatever's easiest for you. But now let's jump right into it. All right, so I told you there's gonna be 10 things that you need to know before you move here to South Florida. So at number 10, we have the toll roads. And yes, I know that other places have toll roads, but it's one thing, especially if you're not from South Florida, you're like, oh my goodness, every single place I go, I have to pay a toll. And it ranges anywhere from about like 80 cents to $1 to about $1.50, and there's 2 ways around it. You can either get toll by plate, which is probably about 30 cents more expensive, or you can just bite the bullet and buy a Sun Pass, which is reloadable, and it ends up actually being about 30 cents cheaper. So bite the bullet, buy the Sun Pass, it'll save you 30 cents, and it does add up. On average, you could be, depending if you take the express lane, on the express lane, especially going to and coming from Miami, is a game changer. It's like non-negotiable. You're looking at about anywhere between $50 to $100 a month in tolls. I mean, it's just something to budget for, but it just makes getting around so much easier. Would you rather be sitting in bumper to bumper traffic for about an hour, or take the express lane and get home in about 30 to 45 minutes? Exactly, the express lane. Number 9 is the weather, and the weather is really one of the main reasons that people move down here to South Florida, but like everything else, it does have some cons with it, so that's what I gotta go over and kind of let you know. So the first one is the heat. Yeah, like in the summer, it is brutally hot. Like you will go outside at midnight, no sun out, and just be sweating your butt off because of the humidity, and it's just hot out. But the rest of the year, it's actually really nice. I mean, think about it. You can go on the boat at Christmas time or in December, like in the winter, while everyone else is freezing their butt off. You're on the boat enjoying life. Not a bad trade-off. The second one is the rain. And in the summer, I can almost guarantee you, if you want to bet money and you're a gambler, put money that it's going to rain every day about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you're going to win most of the time. Now, in the rest of the year, I mean, right around the winter time, springtime, there's not a cloud in the sky, and it's beautiful. It's like in the 80s, like it's awesome. But in the summer, it's going to rain and it's going to be hot. So it's just something to be aware of. And number 8, kind of tying into the weather, is the hurricanes. And yes, there's no way around it. We do get hurricanes here in Florida. And the nice thing about it is, well, I guess it's not really nice, but you do kind of have a heads up. It's not like an earthquake where all of a sudden you're like waking up freaking out. Like you have kind of an idea of when it's going to happen. They're going to be the spaghetti models for about a week out, and they're going to be going all which direction, but you'll have an idea of like where it's going to hit. So we definitely recommend that you do prepare. You have a generator, you have food, batteries, just be prepared. Gasoline, obviously, load up on it. Costco and BJ's, that's the secret right there. But you gotta get there early, otherwise it's a madhouse. Just be prepared for it. For the most part, knock on wood, they're not terrible. Yes, we do get some Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes, but you just have to be prepared for it and be aware that they do happen. At number 7, we have that each county is distinctly different. So when someone says they're from Miami, most of the time, number 1, they're not actually from like Miami that you're thinking of. Miami everyone thinks of as like everything east of 95. So that's one thing, but that's a completely different topic. But when people say they live in Miami-Dade County, completely different from that of Broward County, completely different from that of Palm Beach County. And you really only understand it when you start stepping foot in these counties. And it's just like, the whole ambiance, the people, the food, the culture, like you can just get a different feel like when you step into Miami-Dade County than when you step into Broward County. Then when you go from Broward County to Palm Beach, and even say when you go to Palm Beach County to Miami-Dade County, it's just completely different. So don't lump them into one thing. I know they say the Miami metropolitan area and they're talking about all 3, but they are very, very different, and you have to know that and recognize that before you move here. Next up, we have the Spanish-speaking community. I mean, let's be realistic. You go into Miami, Spanish is pretty much the unofficial, official language in Miami. There's really no way around it. And it's sometimes kind of like Spanglish, like they'll talk in Spanish a little bit, then all of a sudden there'll be some English words. So if you speak Spanish, awesome, no problem for you. For other people who don't speak Spanish or kind of understand it and don't speak it fluently like myself, you definitely need to learn it. I'm trying to learn it. It helps you just be able to communicate with not only the people who live there, but also the people who work there. I mean, you'll go to a lot of places, whether it's restaurants, buildings, shopping, where they really only speak Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, it just makes it that much more difficult to communicate, and could ultimately become frustrating. So the more that you can learn, the better. Plus, I mean, it's always a good skill to learn another language. It never hurts, but especially in Miami where it's the unofficial official language. I mean, and number 5 is the activities, and there is no shortage of activities. If you can't find something to do in South Florida, there might be something wrong. I mean, think about it. You have everything and anything you could possibly want to do. You go to the beach, you can go on a boat, you can go to restaurants, you can go shopping, you can go to the parks, you can play golf, you can play frisbee golf, you can go for a run, you can go work out. I mean, you can go play football, basketball. Like, there's something for everyone. Museums, go-kart, like there's literally something. Okay, maybe you like nightlife. We have excellent nightlife opportunities throughout all of South Florida, whether it's Miami-Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach. Like, there's literally something for everyone. You shouldn't have a time where you feel bored. Now, I can understand not wanting to spend money. Now, trust me, I get that one. And there are plenty of free things to do as well. So like I said, if you're looking for on the low or for free, the free 99, beach, obviously. I mean, well, besides for paying for parking, but there's some ways around that. You can find some other places. You can walk around and go to the malls. You don't have to buy anything. You can go to parks. I mean, there's literally something for everyone that you can go kayaking, paddleboarding, like just getting outside and being outside. I mean, being outside is definitely a part of the lifestyle here in South Florida. So if you don't like being outside, maybe South Florida is not the spot for you. Number 4 is the wildlife that is absolutely wild. And yes, there are alligators in South Florida. And no, not everyone has a pet alligator. And you also don't see alligators just roaming around. This is not Jurassic Park. Like, that does not happen. You do see an occasional one? Yes, of course. You see them crossing the golf courses occasionally? Yes, of course. You just have to be careful around lakes and bodies of water. That's just, I mean, it's South Florida. There's no way around it. On the flip side of that, though, we do have lizards. So like, you're thinking like the little lizards like that. Well, we also have iguanas, and the green iguana is actually an invasive species that they're saying. So, business idea, if you want to make some money, they're actually iguana removal companies that will come out and remove the iguanas from people's properties. And there's so many of these things that it's a great business opportunity if you want to do that. But to be aware of it, there are iguanas everywhere. For the most part, they get out of your way. You walk up to them, they scatter. They're like the birds, like pigeons and things. Like, you never go and just catch a pigeon. Or a seagull and things like that. So very similar to that, but just be aware that they are out there, and it's like, at first, like, holy crap, what is that thing? Just an iguana. For the most part, they'll leave you alone, you leave them alone. And number 3, we have the boating. So Fort Lauderdale is the yachting capital of the world, so obviously boating is a major way of life here in South Florida and the Fort Lauderdale area. So whether you're, I mean, pretty much throughout all of South Florida, there is something to do on a boat, whether you're going fishing, going out the intercoast, or going out the inlets, going offshore fishing, whether you just want to hang out and just go up and down the intercoast all day, you want to hit a sandbar, you want to hit Peanut Island. Like, there's literally something to do for everyone, every type of boater, which brings me to another point. Be very, very careful. Number 1, going out the inlets. Some of the most dangerous inlets in all of Florida are in South Florida. So you have the Hollover Inlet and the Jupiter Inlet, which are extremely dangerous, only if you don't know what you're doing. I mean, you can definitely navigate it, don't get me wrong, but just please be careful. Another thing is to please be careful, especially when you go down to Miami and you're on a boat, because there's a lot of people who just rent boats, have no idea what they're doing, no idea or understanding of the rules of the water, and it's just the Wild West. So just please be careful when you're out there. Other than that, though, it's extremely, extremely fun. And if you do need some lessons with docking, you got to hit up my man Stefan with SMC Boating Academy. That is the best captain in all of South Florida. I'll even say I'm probably second behind him. But I mean, if you want to learn from the best, you got to hit my man up. He's awesome. He'll hook you up. Next up is the drivers. So you have to be aware, because I'm not going to lie to you, the drivers in South Florida suck. For the most part, no one uses their blinker. Like, coming over, they're just like, yep, I'm on my way. So you got to be aware of that. Nobody really uses their blinker. I mean, it is a lot of people from all over the world. We do have a lot of snowbirds as well. So that could really attribute to it. But you just have to be aware. I mean, number 1, nobody does the speed limit. They're going like 105 and 95, or like just think it's a drag race. So be aware of that too. On the flip side of that, there's a lot of people with no car insurance, which is extremely surprising. So in the state of Florida, about 26% of drivers actually don't have car insurance, which is a little bit terrifying, but also understandable once you start seeing how some of these people drive, because their insurance rates would be through the roof. And last but not least, South Florida has a ton of 55 plus communities. So Florida is the #1 state in terms of 55 plus communities. We have 375, with 92 of those being here in South Florida. And they have everything from condos with a few amenities all the way up to resort style communities where you really only have to leave to go to Publix. And I know what you're thinking. Like, some people think that Florida is just all like seniors and retirees. It's by no means that whatsoever. I mean, yes, there are a lot of 55 plus communities, but some of them are like amazing, number one. And number two, like, they're surrounded by all age communities as well. So there's that 55 plus community right here, and then all around it is all age communities. So it's kind of a nice mix if they want to be just on their own, just with all people 55 plus, no kids, nothing like that, they can. But if they want to go out and enjoy all age things, they definitely can. But it's something to be aware of, because some people think that South Florida is literally just all retirees, and it's definitely not. Oh, so you stayed to the end. So like I promised you, here are 3 things that you need to know about living in South Florida that kind of fly under the radar and most people don't talk about. So number 1 is the Florida resident discount. So a lot of people think that it's really only theme parks like Disney and Universal and maybe Kennedy Space Center, but you actually get a whole lot of Florida resident discounts on a lot of the hotels and spas, just all the different amenities here in South Florida. So definitely take advantage of that. All you gotta do is provide your license with your address that shows it's in South Florida. And then you get to take advantage of a lot of these local amenities that people fly all over for, and now you get to enjoy it because it's in your backyard and get a discount on it. Number 2 is that it's really close to everything. So think about it. You can go to the Keys, you can be in Key West from like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, about 3.5, 4 hours. You can go over to Naples in about an hour and a half. You can go up to Cape Canaveral and go to Kennedy Space Center in about an hour and a half. You can go to Orlando in about 3 hours. You can go to Tampa in about 4 hours. You can go to St. Augustine, you can go to Gainesville, you can go to Tallahassee. Like, everything is definitely within a drive. I mean, going to Orlando and back or Tampa and back in a day is tough, but 100% doable. So like, the world's your oyster. On top of that, you have 2 international airports with Miami International and Fort Lauderdale International. So wherever you want to fly to, you can go to. And you have 2 of the busiest cruise ports in the entire United States in the Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades, and the Port of Miami. So if vacationing and traveling is your thing, South Florida is for you. And then number 3, my personal favorite, is that people in Miami are on Miami time. So it might be a Latin culture thing, but everyone in Miami is constantly late. I can promise you, no matter what it is in Miami, I am probably the first one there, because like, I like to be 10, 15 minutes early. So I'm usually the only one there for about 45 minutes. But think about it, if you got an appointment at 1 o'clock or you have a meeting at 1 o'clock, expect them to show up about 1:30, 2 o'clock. You know, everyone's just on their own time. So that's just something to be aware of. I mean, I don't mind it. I still like to be early, but if you're like super regimented, people in Miami are not. So just be aware that it can be frustrating, especially if you're someone like that. It's just like, you got to get used to it. So that's everything that you need to know about moving here to South Florida, plus 3 bonus things. So if you or anyone you know are looking to buy or sell here in South Florida, or Florida in general, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can call, email, text us, or DM us. Whatever's easiest for you, we got you.